Yo, what's good, y'all, man? Back at it. So, just finished Stone Ocean not too long ago. Shout out to Hamon Beats. Hopefully, you don't mind me using video. I'm gonna put the link to the original video in the description. But basically, he's breaking down what happened at the end of Stone Ocean, because that was wild. Poochie destroyed the whole universe and yeah, changed the fates of Jolene and all of them. I kind of understand it now, but I'm still gonna, check out this breakdown to see what he's saying. So yeah, let's get into it.
I'm on the beat.
Okay, I like it.
This video will be discussing ending spoilers for part 6 of JoJo. Obviously,
Alright.
if you do not want to be spoiled, avoid watching any more of this video. The ending of Stone Ocean served as the conclusion to the original JoJo series and the end of the conflict with Dio's legacy that began in Phantom Blood. Pretty much anyone who has read part 6 would tell you that the final stretch of chapters is one of the most
Phantom Blood. So I never called part 1 Phantom Blood, but is that actually what it's called, Phantom Blood? Because I never really referred to it as Phantom Blood. It's called part 1, but I guess it's Phantom Blood.
Anyone who has read part 6 would tell you that the final stretch of chapters is one of the most shocking in the JoJo series, with almost the entire main cast being killed by the main villain, followed by the remaking of the universe.
Yep.
However, to this day, there still remains a ton of misinformation or misinterpretations surrounding the ending. Many people are confused about how exactly Made in Heaven works, and what it actually means to reset the universe.
Right.
Others
That's
are
pretty
conflicted
crazy.
as to the meaning of the final universe and who exactly Irene is, as well as the true fate of the main characters. People also wonder what the state of the rest of the world we got to know in parts 1 to 5 is. And finally, people are confused as to how and if the ending of part 6 connects to the future parts of JoJo.
Right. So I feel like I kind of know the answers to these, but I wanted to see how he breaks them down. But I think because y'all said that it's still connected. Well, is it connected? I think y'all said that part 7 is actually, it's still in the same universe, I believe, but it's just not gonna be involved with Irene and all them. I don't know. I think y'all mentioned that like part 7 is a different. It's not gonna be Dio no more, or something like that. So, yeah, I'm interested to see how it's gonna play out. No Dio, finally. But okay.
If the ending of part 6 connects to the future parts of JoJo. I originally planned to make a video discussing all of this when the part 6 anime concluded. However, with what we've learned about the anime's release schedule, that won't be for quite a long time. I've touched on the ending of part 6 before in my Debunking a Rock You Forgot part 6 video, as well as my video covering the Heaven Plan, but I would still like to make a dedicated video like this to go completely in-depth on the topic. And with the release of the new chapters of Thus Spoke Kishibe Rohan that take place after part 6, a lot more people have appeared that are uninformed when it...
Oh, we got new, I watched that on Netflix, I think, Kishibe Rohan, his little part, the Thus Spoke, whatever. But I guess there's another part that he does, after part 6. So, okay, interesting. Random, who do y'all think gonna win against the Golden Wind Requiem versus Made in Heaven? Who's winning? that was the main thing for me, that like I couldn't believe Poochie destroyed the universe, because I'm like, there's Golden Wind Requiem, like how did but I guess it, you know what I mean, like I guess obviously nobody saw it coming, right? So it just happened. But that was just the wildest part to me, like, yo, he really destroyed everybody, even Jarno. So yeah.
When it comes to the end of Stone Ocean. So in this video I plan to dispel all the misinformation I can. I'll go over what happens when the universe is reset, what ended up happening in the end, and where the rest of the world stands afterwards.
Alright.
First, we need to learn just exactly what resetting the universe means. In a previous video of mine, I went over Dio's plan to create what he called Heaven. This was later adopted by Poochie as the plan that he sets in motion in part 6. The majority of the Heaven plan isn't really relevant to this topic, but if you want to learn everything there is when it comes to it, you can check out my video going over it. Basically, Dio wished to evolve his stand in order to create a new universe in which all people knew their own fate. By gaining the power of the stand Made in Heaven, a person can accelerate time until the point that the universe ends and recreates itself. Then the user of the stand can control the shape of the new world to their liking. Dio most likely wanted to create a world where not only was he above everyone else, but where everyone would be forced to know their own fate and become content with that outcome. The process to reset the universe begins with Made in Heaven accelerating time. Time starts getting faster and faster, however people still function normally while everything around them goes haywire. Eventually the universe reaches its singularity point, where it ends and is recreated in exactly the same way. However, the user of Made in Heaven can restrict this universe's creation in certain ways. Pucci chose to leave behind everyone who died during acceleration, including the main cast that he had just killed. The only one of them to enter the new universe was Emporio, since Jolene was able to separate him from Pucci and keep him alive for long enough. All life from the old universe is placed into the new one, and almost everything is exactly the same. However, those that die are left behind, and other people fill their role. This was shown when Emporio saw replacements of Jolene and Jotaro in the new universe.
That was funny as
Since everyone witnesses the entire course of the universe and then are placed into a copy of it, they will know their own fate ahead of time. This led to the world that Pucci wished to create, where everyone will be aware of their suffering before it happens and be able to cope with it. While fate is set in stone for everyone else, the user of Made in Heaven can change it with his own actions. Since the user is unable to see their fate, Emporio used this to his advantage to trick Pucci into changing fate to lead to his own defeat. When Pucci died with Made in Heaven active, the universe was reset again. This resulted in the people who died and were previously kept away being reborn again in the new universe. In the final universe we see at the end of Part 6, Emporio is the only person who remembers the previous world.
The last
The
man
main
standing.
cast of Part 6 are reborn, this time with different names and improved lives. The majority of the questions when it comes to the end of Stone Ocean surround who exactly these people are, if they are truly the same people as the original cast, and how this reset applies to the rest of the world. A lot of people seem to assume that Irene and the others are just random replacements like the ones we saw in the previous universe. This is not the case. Something that does give us an idea of what Irene is in relation to Jolene comes from the Stone Ocean afterword written by Araki following the conclusion of Part 6. He says that while Jolene's memories are gone, her love and emotions remain in Irene.
I need to strengthen further Father Pucci's stand power. This way time, the characters, the bloodlines, and the whole universe will have a turnaround and go back to their origins. Okay. For JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I had to leave modern days and return to nature. I had to change Stone Ocean's ending right before the last chapters for this reason. I brought out all the nostalgic feelings I had in my soul, and this is why it came out like that. Okay, so he's saying, like, I needed to strengthen Father Pucci. The character bloodline and the whole universe will have a turnaround. I had to leave modern days and return to nature. I had to leave modern days and return to nature. Okay. I started feeling in my soul. This is why I came. Jolene Kudo's memories are different, but I think her love and emotions will remain forever and surely grow. I want the protagonist for the seventh part to be fighting against nature in a way that teaches him how to be mature. Okay, these were my thoughts upon writing the sixth part. Maybe these things shouldn't be said or written, but this is the author's afterword, right? This is the author's afterword, right? It came out like this. Okay.
So while it is true its memories are gone, her love and emotions remain in Irene. So while it is true that the original Jolene who lived a hard life through Part 6 no longer exists,
Dang,
her
not the savage.
soul in this new universe was given a different path in life.
Not the same
It
though.
applies to all the others we see in
Not the same though. You know what I mean? It's the same. It's not the same though, bro. Like, that Jolene was a savage, bro. That Jolene was built different, man. But man, so like, does she have her stand powers anymore then? Cause like, she got her stand powers from like this whole ordeal with Pucci in the first place. So, right, because she had to get like punctured by that what was it, like I forgot what do you call it, like whatever it was, that little thing that punctured her. I think that's when she got her stand abilities. So like how does that work now that Poochie's gone? Does she not have Stone Ocean anymore? So I don't know. That was a question I had. So maybe she's just living a peaceful life.
New Universe was given a different path in life. The same applies to all the others we see in the end. However, what is the rest of the world like? Well, the way I see it, it isn't fundamentally changed. The creation of the world was the same, and the events of the timeline would follow. During Poochie's defeat, Emporio repeats the idea first mentioned by Giorno at the end of Part 5, which is that while fate can be bent by people for unjust means, it will eventually self-correct and favor those who are just. Back in Part 5, Diavolo tampered with fate using King Crimson. However, that fate eventually led to Giorno getting the arrow and giving Diavolo the ultimate punishment.
That was crazy.
Poochie tried to alter fate in the New Universe, and when this backfired and led to Emporio defeating Poochie, fate corrected itself in the New Universe and rewarded the main cast with a life and future free of evil's influence. As such, I think the only people whose lives were significantly changed were Jolene and the group. A lot of people ask how Jotaro was affected. While we can't say for sure since we don't see him, I think he'd be mostly the same, since his adventures in the past would still have happened. Jotaro himself wasn't given an entirely new course in life, but the circumstances surrounding his relationship with Jolene are changed. Since Jolene wouldn't have been in danger, he would be able to become closer to her, and so he would have a better future. Some ask about the reason behind the name changes we see. I think these are mostly symbolic, just to show that with their lives improved, they're new people. In Irene's case, this carries the additional significance of her no longer having the JoJo moniker. This shows how she's free from the fates of her predecessors, who had to face so much hardship throughout their lives. The other main question comes to what happens with the rest of the world. Of course, there will be some differences, but they'd happen mostly in the background. Jolene was alive during Part 4, but not really mentioned. I don't think her having a better relationship with Jotaro really changes that story in any significant way. So everything we know from Parts 1 to 5 still would have happened in the way we remember it. The things that were changed are the lives of the Part 6 main cast, and the events of Part 6 itself, which no longer occurred in this timeline. Our only other glimpse into the future after Part 6 comes from the newest chapters of Thus Spoke Kashibe Rohan. The 10th chapter, Hot Summer Martha, is set in 2021 during the COVID-19 pandemic, while Stone Ocean was set in 2012. The next chapter, Drip Painting Style, continues from where the last left off in 2022. As we can see, the lives of Rohan and Izumi are basically unchanged in the future. This spin-off series has also featured characters such as Yukiko and Tonio, who are also the same as they were in Part 4. In Rohan at the Louvre, we also have brief appearances of Koichi, Okuyasu, and Josuke. When Hot Summer Martha came out, it led to a ton of confusion since people assume everyone would be changed in this new universe. This even led
Wait, hold on, what did that guy say?
Assume everyone.
If the universe is reset in 2012, how could COVID-19, which happened in late 2019, still happen in the universe? Kishibe Rohan. First of all, I swear, COVID was like in 2020 though, right? That was in 2019. Maybe late, but it was really 2020. But okay, because Araki's really okay. So he's because he's making it like he's caught up now, I guess, to like where we are now, because it's been like this progression to like the current time period. So that's actually funny. So he's like, dang, if he reset it, how is COVID? That's funny. All right.
Would be changed in this new universe. This even led some people into saying that Thus Spoke Kashibe Rohan is non-canon. I honestly don't get the logic in this conclusion. Instead of seeing the way that the manga contradicts what you originally thought and changing your reading of the ending based on that, instead some people would rather erase the spin-off entirely to keep what they thought happened from being disturbed. Of course, as we know, the spin-offs of JoJo written by Araki, such as Thus Spoke Kashibe Rohan and Dead Man's Questions, are canon, and there's no reason to think otherwise. For the reasons I went over earlier, only the Part 6 main cast would have their lives drastically altered. Characters like Rohan, who had nothing to do with them, would live virtually the same life that they had. Some people ask if the characters in the new universe remember the reset at all. This is definitely not the case. For whatever reason, some people seem convinced that Rohan would remember. Their reason for thinking this probably stems back to the brief mention of Rohan in Part 6, where it was said that he was still able to keep up with his deadlines even during accelerated time. People think this means that he was somehow immune to Made in Heaven's effects. This isn't what happened at all. Like anyone who has read or watched Part 4 knows, Rohan is able to draw extremely fast. That's what's being referenced here. The joke is that since he draws so fast, he's able to still release his chapters on time.
Right.
Others say Giorno would be immune to the effects of the reset thanks to Gold Experience Requiem. This is a common thing with JoJo fans since people like to greatly exaggerate the power of Requiem. For whatever reason, people
exaggerate. I don't know, bro. Requiem was insane. I still don't completely understand that. If I'm being honest, I still don't understand Requiem like that. And maybe I haven't watched Part 5 in a minute, so maybe I'm just getting a little hazy on how Requiem works. All I remember that it was ridiculous, and it was so crazy because I feel like that was the only stand where it was like not even the user knew what was going on. Cause Requiem said like, "Yo, not even Giorno knows." Like it was so wild. It was like, bro, like what? It was so crazy. And then what he did to Diavolo was insane. So yeah, Requiem, man, like that stand, bro. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Made in Heaven versus Requiem. I don't know, because that stand was crazy.
Since people like to Gold Experience Requiem. This is a common thing with JoJo fans since people like to greatly exaggerate the power of Requiem. For whatever reason, people think that just Giorno would be protected, despite that not being how the stand works. Based on what we saw in Part 5, Gold Experience Requiem can reverse actions as a kind of self-defense mechanism. When King Crimson tried to attack Giorno directly, actions were reverted. As I've gone over in a previous video, Made in Heaven's acceleration is completely neutral, and it would not be singled out by GER as an attack on Giorno. And if Requiem did somehow activate in this scenario, Giorno himself wouldn't somehow be the only one saved, as people say. The entire action of the acceleration would revert. Also, we can't even be certain that Giorno still has Requiem at this point. After the final battle, the arrow that ended up embedded in Gold Experience's head fell to the ground. We never saw the stand after this point, so it very well may have reverted back to its base form.
I don't know. The way Giorno was sitting at the end with the black come on. He still had Requiem, bro. He was way too bossed up just sitting like that to not have Requiem, bro. I'm sorry. Ain't no way.
Stand after this point, so it very well may have reverted back to its base form, much like how Silver Chariot reverted back after its temporary transformation into
That's
Requiem.
fair though. Yeah.
Regardless of if Giorno still had Requiem, I doubt he would be treated any differently by the reset. In reality, Emporio is the only person who would know about the old world. For everyone else, they remember the current universe as if it's the one they've been living in this entire time. Of course, that doesn't make too much of a difference for most people, but we can be confident in thinking about how while the new Rohan chapters are happening, Irene and her friends are off living their lives in the same world. Finally is a question a lot of people have.
It is kind of crazy though, because Weather Report, they are twins though, right? Him and Pucci, right? I believe so, right? I think so. Yeah. No? Wait, hold on. Cause they swap babies. Yes, they are twins. If I'm remembering correctly, they are twins. So him being like just eliminated out the womb with him is kind of crazy. But yeah, okay. And then like he hasn't explained the whole like stand thing yet, cause I still don't understand like if Pucci is gone, does Irene have a stand? You know what I mean? Does Hermes have her stand? I don't think they do. So unless I'm tripping, but like if they're not in that situation in the prison, they don't get these stands. So yeah.
Which is how the ending of Part 6 connects to Part 7. As you probably already know, Part 7 serves as the beginning of a new universe of JoJo.
Right.
Going
Okay.
back in time to tell a new story with some returning concepts and
Mm.
motifs.
Okay.
A lot of people are under the impression that the new universe established here is the same universe we saw at the end of Part 6. This is not actually the case.
Okay.
People
Yeah.
assume that since Jolene was remade into Irene, then all the other characters underwent a similar transformation to become the characters we see in the new universe, such as Johnny, Diego, Kira, and Josuke. However, this idea doesn't hold any water when we think about it for just a little bit. While it's true that many characters in the new universe are based on older characters, a lot aren't so simple. Many
Okay.
characters serve as composites of multiple old characters, and some are just entirely new characters outright. There's no
Okay.
neat way to assign all the old characters into new ones like the way Irene and Anarchus were. It's simply not how these characters are. Some would try to argue that it's totally possible for the Irene universe to fit into the new one, since she could just be one of the unseen Joestars from the other branches of the new family tree. However, to say that would imply so many other things that are just implausible. As if somehow in this universe, Jotaro is no longer the child of Holly but of someone else, and that meanwhile people who were originally not related to families like the Joestars or Higashikatas are now reincarnated into familial relationships with them in the large family tree featured in JoJolion. The reality is that the Steel Ball Run universe is entirely new. It's not connected to Part 6 or even to the Reset universe from its ending. It is a
Okay.
completely new universe that isn't connected to the old. The existence of an unchanged Morio and other unchanged characters in the Rohan chapters is further proof of this. And it's definitely better this way. The journey of the original universe is over, and people get to live in relative peace. The ending of Part 6 would be cheapened if we knew that everyone was just reborn into yet another conflict to struggle through. It's better to keep the old characters there, knowing that they live peacefully.
Okay.
Of course, that doesn't mean that the original universe is completely irrelevant when it comes to reading and understanding Parts 7 and 8. The whole reason for there to be so many callbacks to the original universe is because we're expected to recognize them. Our knowledge of the original characters is supposed to inform our understanding of the new ones, and our
Alright.
impression of them can either be affirmed when it matches the old universe, or subverted when they do something on their own and surprise us. Certain concepts from JoJo, such as stands, are carried over and follow many of the same rules established in previous parts. And in some circumstances, new rules introduced in the Steel Ball Run universe can even change our understanding of the old universe. The
Okay.
biggest example of this is the Steel Ball.
Ooh, maybe I should stop right now because I don't want to get spoiled. I don't know nothing about Part 7 besides the title, and apparently it's back in time. So yeah, maybe I should just let's risk it.
Or an extra chapter, which
Okay.
beyond concretely establishing the connection between stands and spin, also gives a mention of the connection between stands and Hamon, which had only been briefly alluded to before. Part 8's focus on curses and their relation to stand abilities also gives us another perspective on the supernatural forces seen in the previous universe of JoJo and its spin-offs. So in that way, the old universe is still alive and relevant to the new disconnected parts. And of course, we can still view the continuation of the original universe through the Spokushibe Rohan. The Part 6 ending has served as one of the most hotly debated topics among JoJo fans. Hopefully with this video, I was able to dispel all of the misinformation about the ending, and helped people have a better understanding of the Part 6 ending and all of the topics that surround it. If you want to see me cover some similar topics that relate to JoJo misinformation, comment them down below. If you want to receive updates on new videos and chapters, you can join the Hamon Beat Discord using the link in the description. To receive rewards like Discord perks and some uncut videos, you can support the channel on Patreon. And finally, for future videos, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. This is the part of the video where I thank my $5 and up patrons.
Shout
Thank
out
you
to
to
the
Tony.
patron. Shout out to the patron. Alrighty. Yeah. So, shout out Hamon Beat. Explained that pretty well. Yeah, JoJo is crazy, man. That ending I feel like was a very fitting ending. Like if somebody wanted to just like stop and just like be like, I got my JoJo feel, and then you know what I'm saying, just like that was a good ending to like a show. I feel like, you know what I mean? It was solid. It was definitely unique. So part 7 is gonna feel like a whole different. It's gonna feel like a Shippuden kind of thing, or like a, you know what I mean, like a different story in a way, even though it's like all related. Because like our main cast of JoJo's and Dio is gone, so I'll be interested to see how they do it and how part 7 is. A lot of y'all say part 7 is pretty, like, really good and stuff like that, so we'll see. But yeah, good video, man. Shout out Hamon Beat, and yeah, if I rock with that, do all that stuff in the description. Catch you on the next. Stay healthy, stay powerful, stay blessed.
It's a hustler's do, and you ain't did it to a hustler do, and you ain't know it to a hustler knew, and you ain't done till the hustler's through. I'm a customer too, this what hustlers do, and you ain't seen it till you seen it from a hustler's view.